back to our layer cake example that I've mentioned in the previous two videos. If you haven't already watched those, go back and watch them first because they, again, lay the foundation for your horse's diet. We now get to talk about supplements, and this is everybody's favorite topic because there are so many out there and they're so heavily marketed. There are two ends of the spectrum of this conversation. Some people really believe that horses don't need supplements, that they can get everything they need from hay, and others believe that horses need all these expensive, fancy supplements that are all over the feed store shelves and you see all over social media. I tend to be somewhere in the middle. So in healthy grass that's grown in healthy soils, we tend to have a lot of vitamins and minerals that are just not present in hay, both because our soils are deficient, but also because the actual processing of the hay tends to lose some of these nutrients. So there are two types of supplements that we're going to cover here: essential supplements and functional supplements. Essential supplements are those that are typically found in hay, but are lost in the processing or due to soil degradation. So these are supplements that all horses should be fed, regardless of where you live in the country or what purpose you use your horse for, whether they're retired or young in life or in full heavy exercise. It doesn't matter. All horses should have access to these. The first is salt at a rate of about 2 ounces a day. And salt is different from electrolytes. Salt is a type of electrolyte, but electrolytes include other minerals, and we'll get there in a moment. Salt should be fed every day to help your horse maintain normal body functioning, regardless of weather or activity load or sweat or any of those other things. Electrolytes should be fed as needed due to the amount your horse has sweat. So if they're in heavy work or it's hot outside or you're traveling or they're stressed, those are times that you want to add the electrolytes back in because those are things that tend to be lost in their sweat. Electrolytes include salt, chloride, as well as magnesium and calcium. And these are things that you really want to buy a complete electrolyte, and if you can, one that's low in sugar is ideal. The next essential supplement we're going to cover is trace minerals. These can be fed in a couple of different forms, but I would really encourage you to stay away from those brown mineral blocks that you get in the feed store because those are actually formulated for cattle, not for horses, and they tend to have a lot of fillers and binders and things in them that we really don't want to be giving our horses. So I would encourage you instead to use a trace mineral blend that is formulated for horses, and in this case, really, you get what you pay for. If you get the less expensive ones, they tend to have a lot of inorganic or synthetic minerals, which can be hard for your horse to absorb, and so they either end up being excreted or they end up being stored in essential organs and never actually used, which can lead to toxicity. So it's important if you're feeding a mineral supplement that you look for either chelated or organic form minerals, and there are lots of brands that I like for this. I'm not going to mention any here because I'm not associated with any of those brands, but if you reach out to me, I can help you find those, or you can just read the back of the packaging, and if they say a lot of things like ate or "ide," or they have all those little suffixes at the end of the mineral, that's a pretty good indicator that those are synthetic forms, and those should probably be steered clear of. The next thing that we want to make sure we're supplementing back in is amino acids, and again, these are found in hay, so you probably don't need to worry too much about this, but you often, hay has an improper balance of these amino acids, and amino acids are something that they have to be absorbed in a particular quantity and particular order in order to be effective in the horse's body. So we want to make sure that we're getting our essential amino acids needs met, and again, the best way to do this is either through a high quality amino acid supplement, or you can actually do this with things like chia seeds, pumpkin seeds, or hemp hearts. These all have a balance of amino acids that is different from hay and will help our horses to unlock the ability to absorb all of their essential amino acids that they need. And then finally is omegas. Hay has 0 fat in it. This is one of the things that our horses really do need in order to function properly. And there are 3 types of omegas, omega-3s, 6, and 9s. We want the highest concentration of omega-3s in our horse's diet, and then we do want some 6s and 9s, but we don't want to overdo those, because if they have too much of omega-6 or omega-9, it can actually block their ability to absorb the omega-3s. And we'll talk more about this in another video, but for now, just trust me that you need to make sure your horse is getting a high dose of omega-3s. So some ways to do that are we can do flax oil or ground flax seeds. The problem with flax oil is that it's often not very shelf stable and tends to go rancid pretty quickly. So I tend to prefer other methods, like chia seeds tend to be a really great option. And I happen to sell chia seeds, and there's a link below with a discount. And then finally, we want to talk about functional supplements, and functional supplements are the ones that are not necessary for your horse's survival, but they maybe will help with particular ailments or concerns. So things like joint supplements, skin and coat supplements, calming, digestive, all of those kinds of things. So in the case of functional supplements, it's really a case-by-case basis. But what I would encourage you to do is really do your research and your homework, because a lot of times things like hoof supplements, for example, boast that they have biotin in them, but they actually have a lot less than the therapeutic dose of biotin, and so your horse is not necessarily getting enough to actually make a difference in their hoof health. So there's way too much to cover in this video for that, so I'll be making other videos on specific health concerns later on, but just know that if you're feeding functional supplements, you really should do your research and make sure that you know how much of each of these nutrients are needed and in what form in order to actually be effective, because there's a lot that goes into marketing, but the truth isn't always a piece of that. So just really important to think about that. For more information on building a complete diet for your horse, download your Build Your Bucket workbook below. It's free and has all of the resources you need to get started, and also you can check out more resources on my website at rubydosequine.com, and even book a one-on-one nutrition consultation with me, and we'll go over all of this in great detail, unique to your horse.